Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Cheers to 10-Year interview. I'm your host, Amanda Rae, and I am excited to talk today to one of our ambassadors, one of our lovely 17 Hats members, Liz August. Liz, thank you so much for being here with me today. I want to start by let's just dive into who you are, what you do, where you're from, maybe how you found 17 Hats. Let's just go over the basics right now.
Sure. So I'm Liz August. I live in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I own Simplify, which is an outsourcing agency of tech virtual assistants. And basically, I'm just the get stuff done girl for entrepreneurs, life coaches, really any service provider that just needs a streamlined online business and they are sick of trying to do it themselves. We're a one-stop shop. So everything from social media, websites, setting up 17 Hats accounts, all the stuff, email marketing, everything you could possibly need for a successful online business.
I love completely because everybody needs one of you.
Exactly. And I'm a business owner myself. I'm, steering this ship. So I also need one of me. And that's why I have a full team behind me. So nobody can do it alone. It takes a village.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about how you got into business. How did business start for you?
I was a Spanish teacher.
I didn't know that you know Spanish.
I do, which has been super handy because my entire house is under renovation right now and the whole team is Hispanic. And so it's just easier for everybody to just speak in Spanish.
Communication's key. Communication's key.
Right. So yeah, it's been going really well. So I was a teacher for 10 years. I loved it, except for everything outside of my kids. There was a lot of parental stuff that was just like, parents can be a little pesky with teachers, a lot of principal administration stuff. And it was ultimately, I was like, I have a lot of gifts, a lot of like tech gifts that are being wasted here. So I kind of dabbled in starting a business. I started a professional organizing business. I used to organize homes.
I didn't know that either. I'm learning so many things about you, Liz.
Oh, I've known you for years. Yeah, it was super fun. And what I realized from all of this is that I genuinely love helping people calm the disorder, right? So organizing and being a virtual assistant, same thing. Like you're calming the disorder so that people can just get on with their lives and do the stuff that they love to do, but still have stuff work for them, whether it's in their home or their business, right? And I started that business with a Facebook page as my website and 17 Hats.
That's amazing. So how did you go from that to what you have now, this virtual assistant, gosh, guru that you are?
So I was hating teaching. I was doing the professional organizing, kind of like dabbling at it, right? I worked summers because of teaching. So I would just go organize houses. And I was infertile, and it took me 3.5 years to get pregnant through IVF. It was such a journey and exhausting. And it just really made me realize like, you have to go through so much in life anyway. You might as well enjoy what you're doing. So I left teaching under the guise of a 1-year maternity leave. I was going to fully concentrate on organizing houses. But this friend of mine, she's a life coach. And she asked me, because she knew I was very good with tech and she knew I was very organized. She was like, would you make me a spreadsheet of just like the name, email, contact, like the stuff of my clients? And I was like, what are we doing with a spreadsheet? I'm like, why a spreadsheet? And I was like, tell me about what you need. And she was telling me, and I was like, you need 17 hats, honey. And then I was like, well, and then you need email marketing, and then you need a better website, and then you need social media. So she just kind of was like, would you do it? And I was like, well, I do it for my business. So sure. And then I realized I can work from home in my pajamas and I don't need to go lift heavy boxes as an organizer. This sounds way better. So I just pivoted the business. I kept the name Simplify, and I just pivoted.
I love that. I love how And I know I've said this before in other interviews, is that just keeping your mind open to other possibilities, right? What you're doing today might not be what you're doing a year from now or 2 years from now or 10 years from now. It's so funny. I think your stories are very similar because I also taught high school. I loved everything about teaching. I hated the politics. I hated there's so much that I didn't like. I loved my coworkers. I loved and adored my kids. I loved teaching, but the politics of it, I could not deal with. It felt kind of it just didn't sit right with me, really. And that's when I went to photography and then obviously moving over here to 17 Hats. But yeah, you just don't know where the journey is going to take you if you're open to it.
No idea. And, that was right, I think, just a few months before COVID hit. And then everybody had to pivot online. So it was just a booming moment where everyone was like, I need a website. I need social media. I need an online course. I need a CRM. So we just got so much traction that I was like, wow, this is full time. We're in it. I started hiring girls for my team. I mean, we just exploded. So
I love that. Let's talk a little bit about process and systems. It's one of my favorite topics. It's one of your favorite topics. Every business owner struggles with the idea of process and system without understanding that they already have a process and system in place. It might not be the best process and system, right? But they have one in place. How do you help your clients get over the mental hurdles that comes with putting in a process and putting in a system?
The majority of my clients are creatives. So they are life coaches, photographers, just authors, podcasters, activists, and they're so much up here, right? Like kind of in the clouds, and then they're my little balloons and I have to pull them down to earth because like in order to look professional now, especially after COVID. I mean, before COVID you could kind of squeak by, but after COVID we're so used to instant gratification even more than before. Just looking professional, giving a professional feel, being streamlined. I mean, I will not do business with someone if they can't answer my call within 24, 48 hours. Like, and I feel like that's what we've learned.
Yeah, I mean, stats show us that if you are not the first person that a lead calls, you're not gonna get the booking. That's just pretty much so how it is right now.
I think I not interviewed, but I got proposals from 4 different contractors for this kitchen renovation we're in the middle of right now. And every single one of them took like a week to get me a proposal.
Insanity to me. That is like number one way to lose business or to lose conversions.
And I was just like, what are we like, do you want my money or do you not want my money? Because I would like a kitchen.
And I'm willing to pay you for this.
My money is green. Take my money. I call me. I don't know. So for my clients, because they're creatives, yes, I agree that they have a semblance of a plan bumping around up there. I just don't think that that translates to paper or technology. I think they know, like, when you've had good customer service and bad customer service, like, but we don't remember too much the good customer service. We're remembering the bad things. And so when we go to plot our own stuff out, I always say, like, the cobbler's son wears no shoes. My business is not exactly where I want it to be streamlined, but that's what I'm invested in my clients, right? So I rely on my team. I'm like, guys, you go figure this out. So yeah, I just think it's this idea of you don't know what you don't know. You know a little bit, and you like your dream scenario is that your clients are held and supported the entire way and dropping leads and that everybody's happy. But that, unless you dive into really defining the client journey, which not a lot of people do, they just start business and they're excited. Until you jump into that client journey, you really just don't know what you're doing.
That's right. A lot of it is just maturity, like what I call business maturity or business ownership maturity, and just experiencing it. A process can be as simple as a client calls you, you put their date on the calendar, and you send them an invoice. I'm not going to say it's the best process, but it is a process that is a place to start.
Exactly. And I don't even remember how I heard about 17 Hats. I had to have just Googled it. I mean, I was coming from being a teacher. I had no entrepreneurial business, nothing. But I knew enough to say to myself, how are you going to get money from people and look professional doing it? And so I think I just started Googling like electronic contract and like electronic invoice. And like this was in 2015. And so I think it came up and I played with it and I was like, this is exactly what I need. And so I think we know what we need. It's not really 100% clear how to get there.
Sure, sure. When talking, let's dive a little bit more into process and client experience a bit more. How do you suggest people dive into that, right? If people are going, I mean, other than hiring somebody like you, right, to do it, because that is always an option, right? And I highly recommend it if you have the money to do it, to hire somebody because it's going to get you the quickest results out there, which is amazing. However, if you don't have the money to hire somebody to invest in a virtual assistant or a back-end specialist, how do you suggest people to dive into client experience and to systems? How do they even get started doing that?
Honestly, I mean, I knew a lot just working with different types of clients and seeing where the gaps were. So, I would get this life coach and she'd be like, "Yeah, I sent an invoice and then they didn't pay it." And I'm like, "So then what did you do? When did they pay you and when was the invoice?" Right? Like, did you remind them? And so I was used to looking at the gaps and just kind of trying to fill them in. And then, and I'm serious about this, I did 17 Hats boot camp. This was one of the very first boot camps. One of the very first. And in there, you were talking about the client journey. And I knew all of this, but it wasn't until I sat down and mapped out what I think, because most of my clients are life coaches, what I think an ideal client journey looks like for a life coach. It wasn't until I sat there and used everything I learned from boot camp and mapped it out on paper, right? And then I was like, I could totally teach this and I can show all the contingency plans, like what happens if somebody didn't reply to that email, then send this email. And if they don't reply to that email, then send this email. And what happens if they never even got on the call to begin with? Well, send this email, right? So until you really sit down and think about here's where you start, here's where you end, and then fill in everything in between. And then think of those contingencies. It's never going to come together. So there's so much power around what a proper client journey looks like and adapting that for also too like all types of learners. I have so many neurodivergent clients that don't immediately pick up on this email, so I'll send them this one. So it's just this idea of what's a perfect scenario and what's every little bump along the way.
Yeah, I love to roll out like the brown paper that you can get from like Home Depot or Lowe's, like the craft paper, right? You just roll it out and you just start writing down, all right, lead contacts me. And then and the question is now what?
You got to in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where it's like the chaos board and he's like strung out, that you need to look like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just keep asking yourself, now what? Now what? Now what? Now what? And that just gives you every step of your client experience. And it just, I think, is so helpful. But I love that you got that from boot camp. That first boot camp was wild. We had so much fun.
Crammed so much. I think now you break them up into specific topics, but the first one was like, here's everything.
We gave everything to that boot camp.
It
And
was intense. And I still have the workbook in my drawer because I had notes over it. It's crazy.
yeah, we gave everything in that one, which was like, if you want to do it, here we go. But I think a good reminder with that story too is that sometimes you have to make the time to do it. And sometimes by joining a boot camp or a webinar or a seminar or whatever, you're just giving yourself time to think about that because these kind of like pragmatic things that you need to do for your business, which you know is going to help your business, sometimes tends to be the things that we don't do.
I am here all day working on other people's businesses, and I have very little energy at the end of the day to concentrate. So what I do is every summer, I leave my husband and my daughter, and I go to my mom's house on the lake that I grew up on, and I lock myself in her finished basement. It's got a kitchenette, it's got a room, it's got a bathroom. I sit there for 5 days and I work on my business. You have to do, and I mean, like, you're not, if you can't devote 5 days, obviously it's fine, but even an hour, just turn do not disturb on your phone on, like, get away, go to the library like you did in college, right? So, you just have to tune it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to get out of your house. That's the big thing is you have to get out of your house.
The laundry, the like, especially those of us who work from home. So, you have to put yourself in the space where you're like, "No, no, nothing else matters right now except this task," and just nail it out.
And you plan it. I think that's the biggest thing. You put it on your calendar because everybody always tells me, I don't have time. I don't have time to build processes. I don't have time for 17 ads. I don't have time to set this up or I don't. And you're like, okay, but you're running a business. So it's your job. You have, 8 hours a day that you're working. Some of you work 12 or 15 hours a day. You have 15 hours a day. You, as the business owner, chooses what you're going to do with those 15 hours. Like it is strictly your choice.
I book my mom like an Airbnb. I'm like, "Mom, I'm gonna be here these days in July. Please do not have any of my aunts, cousins, uncles. No one's coming to say hi to me. I will reserve a dinner every night with a different family member, but during the day, I'm dedicated."
I love it, and just getting it on your calendar. One of my mentors would tell me, and I've said this in other ones as well, "Don't tell me your priority, show me your calendar." Right? Because it's true. If you prioritize something, it's gonna be on your calendar, and so if you prioritize growing your business, systemizing your business, automating your business, you know, just growth in your business in general, if that's something that you wanna do, where's the work?
That's exactly it. I mean, even like my daughter's summer camp schedule, I have to plan in February in order to register for the camp. So, just like everything else in life, get it on that calendar.
Gotta do it. Over the last 10 years in business that you've conquered, you've been through it, you've enjoyed the ups and downs of it. What do you feel like is one of your biggest lessons?
That's a decade. I think you have to block out the noise and continuously remember, why the hell did I do this? Because at the end of the day, a comfortable salary and summers off and President's Day recess and spring break, like, that was pretty comfy. I had that down. I was doing the same thing for 10 years and I was nice and comfortable. But was I really? Like, I wasn't comfortable in here emotionally, and so I made the big leap. But you have to think to yourself, entrepreneurship is not, if it were for everyone, everyone would be doing it.
And if it was easy, everybody would be successful.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, if you're like, "Oh my god, I can't do it one more time." Okay, are you going to go do the 9 to 5 then? Are you going to do the rat race? Are you, like, you really have to sit there and be like, is this it? Is this my walkout? Do, like, is it just better to do that 9 to 5? And if at the end of the day, I can sit there and be like, but who would pick up my kid at 2:30 from school? And who would bring her to piano and dance and swim if I didn't want to be out until 7 or 8 o'clock every night? Right. So for the lifestyle that I see myself in and the comfort level that I want to have, I have a chronic illness, I have chronic pain. Can I picture myself getting up every day, showering in traffic, at a desk, unable to leave, unable to care for myself the way that I need to care for myself? The answer is no. And the fact that I can provide for my family in a comfortable way that still at the end of the day goes back to the mission of, I like to help people, then I don't think I'm doing too bad.
I think understanding your why and knowing your why am I doing this, is one of the most important things that you can do in small business, because you're right, this is not easy. Not everybody succeeds. We've all heard the statistics, the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 10-year stats. They're huge. Not a lot of people make it till 10 years. It's a very, very, very small percentage, for the reason that it isn't easy, right? And the grind is the grind, and work-life balance is hard. But man, to be able to hold on to that why did I start this in the first place? I feel like it's just the North Star that you need to keep you going and to keep you on the right track, because you can so easily, especially when you get going and you get successful and you get name recognition, people start, realizing who you are. Gosh, it is so easy to get off track of your mission in a way that just it's not aligning with you anymore.
I had a client a couple of years ago that wanted my undivided attention, and they were willing to pay for it. And that's awesome. But at the end of the day, I was like, I have only worked on her, and I keep pushing everything back. My family, I haven't had dinner with them. I'm at my desk late hours. It was COVID. My little one was 2.5. She was watching Peppa Pig under my desk and developed a British accent. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was just, it got to the point where I was like, I'm missing it. Like, my husband was a salaried person working home during lockdown, like we all were. And I'm watching them on bikes just go up and down the street. And I was like, the whole world, literally, globally, right now, everyone on this planet is taking a collective breath, which I think is the gift of COVID, is that we all just took a breath. And I'm like one of few that's not taking a breath. And I'm not in the hospital with the rest of the like emergency people lives. I'm like, what am I doing? And then I had to take a really big look at, like, what's my mission, and can I take a client like this again? No. What boundaries do I need to set up? Many. So it's just that constant reminder of, what did you envision when you set this up? Was it a little bit of pocket money? Cool. Was it just so that you could work with a lifestyle that you wanted to work? Awesome. That's the whole point. Stick to the point.
Everybody's idea of success is different. It doesn't make one more important than the other. Everybody has their lifestyle, has their idea of what their business will bring them, and I think it's just so important to know. Last question for you. Actually, I have two more questions, but last question for you. 17 hats. How has it helped you over the last 10 years?
Well, I mean, it's two ways. I've made money by helping people set up 17 hats, because it's the gift that keeps on giving. It is helping business owners just streamline, because there's just too much that we have to do every single day. You need a central hub, a dashboard, this is my my rock that I go to. So I've made money off of helping people, and that is incredible to me. And I do a ton of 17 hats setups a year. And then for myself in my own business, I'm like, I fire in 2 minutes at the pickup before my kid came running at me, chucking a backpack at my face, which is like, why? Just carry your backpack. In 2 minutes, I'm on the app and I'm sending off a proposal. And like that, I mean, I didn't have to make it look pretty in Canva. I didn't have to connect QuickBooks. Everything is just there and everything's templated. And I sent it off in 2 minutes at the bus or the school pickup. So that's it. It's just right there when you need it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, we've been friends for a while now, several years, and I appreciate you being an ambassador. I appreciate your friendship as well. If somebody wants to learn more about you, here's your softball question. If somebody wants to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Simplify.me.
Amazing. Well, thanks, Liz, for joining us. Thank you for dropping all the nuggets of wisdom. I appreciate you being on.
And I appreciate all you guys do. Thank you so much.
And for everybody watching, here's another close of a fabulous interview, dropping so much wisdom, dropping so many nuggets. Gosh, I just hope that you can take each one of these interviews, reflect on them, and write down like one thing, one action item that you're going to be able to walk away and do from these interviews. Because, man, hearing these success stories from all of these members who have reached that 9, 10 year mark, even many beyond that, those are the shoes to be following. Those are the footsteps to be following. And because, as we've said on this podcast, this is not an easy journey. If it was easy, everybody would do it. It's tough. It can be really challenging. But I think the biggest thing to know is that you can do it. You can hit the 10 year mark, just like all of these 10 year members. So we appreciate Liz. We appreciate everybody coming on. Again, thank you for watching. Cheers.